You can all agree that studying is hard, and specifically if you have the pressure of monitoring an enormous syllabus in limited time span. When it comes to handling a mammoth syllabus, where do you start and what do you do? Hi guys, welcome back to the Absorb Strategy sessions here on YouTube. Today we are talking about the 80-20 rule. Hopefully, after concluding this video, you might know the secret to diminishing 80% of your workload or study load and yet score efficiently in all your upcoming exams. Let us begin with a story. The story revolves around an Italian businessman, Vilfredo Pareto, who later became an economist. He observed the yield of pea plants in his garden. He noticed that only 20% of the pea crops were responsible for a massive 80% of healthy produce. This intrigued him to dig deeper. He began exploring only to catch sight of this 80-20 pattern even more frequently in other dimensions. 80% of land owned were by 20% of people. 80% of production generated were only by 20% of the companies. Over multiple such incidences, he hypothesized that 80% of results come from 20% of the effort or action put into it. This is the 80-20 rule or the popular Pareto principle. This obviously is not statistically accurate by any means, but probe people to start testing this out in many functional sectors. For example, think about it. 20% of clothes in your wardrobe you handpick for 80% of the occasions, don't you? Probably the most comfortable ones. Many of you are thinking whether this trick is helpful in your exams. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Are you dealing with an exam with a bulky syllabus? Do you think the exam commands for consistent efforts over months and sometimes cause you burnout? And most importantly, do you want to rank in this exam as early as possible? If the answer is yes, the 80-20 rule isn't just helpful, it is absolutely vital. How do you use the 80-20 rule? The backbone of any strategy is to know what not to do rather than what to do, says Michael Porter, Steve Jobs, and many more. This is the essence of the 80-20 rule. Step 1 is to understand and accept that no exam assessment encircles absolutely 100% of the subject matter. Once you know this, spot the uneven distribution of marks when it comes to the subjects and topics. Not all subjects are equal, and within each subject also not all topics are equal. Identify subjects with higher weightage. Identify 20% of the heavily scrutinized topics within these subjects that fetch you 80% of the outcome. These are your high yield topics. This distribution may be 70-30, 60-40. You can personalize it as per your need, but focus on this before you do absolutely anything else. Are rank holders using this principle as well? Absolutely. Many toppers unconsciously apply this principle. They know that knowing everything of everything is trying to do the impossible. Instead, how they proceed forward is by analyzing past year papers and question banks to highlight what topics is the examiner stressing on year after year. They focus on these areas first before they proceed to others. Where do you find these high yield topics? Number 1 source is past year papers, and source number 2 are Q banks that are designed around these high yield topics. If you haven't heard of any such Q bank and you are a judicial services aspirant, we highly recommend trying out Absorb Law Q bank. It has the amalgamation of concepts of all vital topics that are likely to show up in your exam. The third source are qualitative mocks. Chart down the recurrent topics and questions. Many toppers recommend the retrospective or retrograde technique. What is this technique? Early encountering of thousands of questions by solving past year papers Q banks thoroughly and filtering out high yield topics, and then building fundamentals on these prioritized areas is called retrospective technique. How will you be better than others if you use this technique? Have a look at this. This graph will help you understand better. Let's say you and your friend both managed to cover 20% of your syllabus in 2 months' time. But you have focused on these high yield areas, whereas the other has opted to revise the routine topics as per mentioned curriculum. The outcome in both your cases would be different. Let's say you've taken a mock test. The performance will show a drastic divergence. While you may score 70 to 80%, your friend will be stuck blaming himself or herself for not completing the entire syllabus. Realistically, you may not be number one, but you will be much better than others. You can then move on for additional 80% effort to gain an edge on the remaining 20% of topics. It helps you stay motivated and it helps you not slog and burn out in the process. That's all for the video today. Remember, no more slogging 24/7. I'm also predicting that only 20% of you will be applying what I talked about in your daily life. If you gained anything from this video, leave a like or comment below. Let us know any other queries that you face and we'll be happy to address them in our future videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. I will see you in a bit. Bye-bye. Take care.